This is Glad, your chaplain, Major Glad Young, home from the Salvation Army, Salisbury House, hostel, lifehouse for homeless people in St Helens. I'm sending my greetings again while we're in this time of isolation due to COVID-19. Missing you all so very much. I'm just trying to make communication with you and trying to help fill your time in some small way. We continue with the book Max the Miracle Dog by Kerry Irving. We're on part 2 of the prologue, and once we get into the book I hope you really enjoy it and find encouragement in it for yourselves. At the moment we have background music, this time from the Household Troops Band. Enjoy. Loads of love. Prologue, Part 2. Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin. I decided to leave at this time for 2 reasons. Moving at my pace, it's going to take me a lot longer than most to reach the top. Every step I take requires care and consideration, while I'm constantly braced for a jolt of pain that could stop me dead. We're following the pony track, which is also known as the tourist route. By mid-morning, I could expect the path that begins to zigzag across the mountain's lower flanks to fill with hikers, and that's my main reason for setting out so early. I don't want anyone to see me, but my dog. Right now, the last thing I need is for some 75-year-old carrying a big rucksack to go bounding past and wonder what's keeping a seemingly fit man in his 40s from not going at the same pace. Part of the problem, I always think, is that I look fine from the outside. In reality, I have to watch every footstep because one slip could lead to searing pain. It's hard for me to relax, but I never feel under pressure from Max to move faster. He's off the lead and investigating the path as if to check it out for me. He's never been the kind of dog to race off into a world of his own, or to leave me feeling as if I'm holding him up. Nor does he stick so rigidly at my side that I risk tripping over him. That's not what makes him tick, and one of the many reasons why we've bonded so closely. He gives me space to breathe, along with that sense of not being alone. Max is here for me, just as I'm here for him. We're doing this together because only he understands that if I go wrong, I've tried my very best. If I'm going to fail, I'll do it with just Max. He's my little friend, my constant companion, my guardian angel, all rolled into one frequently muddy, slightly smelly spaniel. We pick our way up the path, clambering over loose stone and steps cut into the hillside. I stop frequently so I can get my breath and I can enjoy the view. This is something I've thought about doing for such a long time, and it's hard to believe that I'm actually here. As the sun is only just climbing into the sky, the temperature is perfect. It's a crystal clear day with a freshening breeze that stiffens up as we go. I have supplies for both of us, but right now Max is focused on not dropping his stick. He's just picked it up from a gully, and I'm sure he'll carry it all the way to the top and back down again. Once he commits to something, he never gives up, and I remind myself of this as I battle my misgivings about coming so far. It's taken us half a day to drive here from my home in the Lake District. The journey turned out to be treacherous for me. It was probably the furthest I'd gone since my life changed so dramatically several years previously. Behind the wheel, I found that everything from braking to turning caused shooting pains to travel from my neck and radiate through my back and arms. Max travelled up front in the passenger seat beside me. It's where he chooses to sit, and I love having him at my side, especially during testing times. Despite hours of discomfort on the road, I was excited about the trip. It's all about my dog and me, a boys' weekend away. It was only after we arrived at the campsite and I put up the tent that the effort of getting here caught up with me. All I wanted to do was sleep. It was the first time that Max had spent the night under canvas, however. I wasn't even sure if he'd settle. He sniffed around for a while. I laid out my sleeping bag and his blanket. Then I invited him inside. Max slipped in without hesitation, curled up as if this is where he belonged. And that was that. We spent the next day just enjoying short walks through the woodland at the foot of the mountain. I needed to rest, recover my strength, and prepare for the climb. I didn't sleep much overnight, but once we'd set off, I left the pine trees behind. I found that my reservations about this hike started to lift. We had quite a distance to go, but Max isn't just here for the fresh air, the sights, and the sounds. He's my comforting presence, content for me to move at my own pace, and with something in those long looks he gives me that says, I'm here for you. Ben Nevis is one of those mountains that you can't truly appreciate from a picture. It's only when you're here and looking up to the top, to the summit, that you think, wow, that's pretty big. It's a fair distance to the top and not the easiest hike. I'd studied the map, only to discover that the path had been redirected due to erosion. It means I have to follow a bigger loop, and I'm not prepared for that. I have to keep stopping for about a third of the way up to loosen my shoulders. This is down to the fact that I've been tensing my body as I walk, fearful one wrong footing would drop me to the ground in agony. At one point, when the path cuts around an outcrop, I stop and lean against it just to shake out the tension. Max is at my side immediately, looking up at me as the breeze ruffles his long ears. I'm not giving up, I assure him. Have faith, we can do this. The terrain begins to change as we climb higher. From one thing, the steps become bigger and more testing. So 1 minute, I'm walking normally, and the next, I'm forced out of my comfort zone as I grab at grass clumps and rocks to haul myself upwards. That's when it starts to kick in, and what a big deal this is for me. At the same time, we've reached a point where I can look out across the lochs and the tarns at seemingly infinite horizon. It makes me realise how far we've climbed and that there can be no stopping us now. We've reached the mountain snow line. Max switches into a different gear. He loves the snow and he's not seen any since winter. It's a chance for him to come into his own as a Springer Spaniel by leaping into the drifts. It makes me smile to watch him bounding, his paws sinking deep into the powdery drifts. And though I can hardly follow suit, it's enough to push me forwards. Shortly afterwards, with one of our regular checks to see how far we've come, I spot a figure striding towards us. He's a long way down, but moving so much faster than anything I could imagine. And that focuses my attention. I'm happy being here alone with Max, but having set off so early, I'd got it into my head that I was going to be the first to reach the summit that day. I'm hardly the first to try conquering Ben Nevis, but just then I feel like a pioneer, and I don't want anyone to get there before me. Let's push on, I say, not just to Max. We don't have much further to climb, but the hiker continues to close the gap. I try not to panic or overreach myself, because the last thing I want this far from help is to find myself locked in agony. To focus, I kept my gaze trained on Max. I remind myself just where this began, at a point in my life when I couldn't have got any lower, and how close we are to reaching a high. Towards the summit, the path opens up onto a stony plateau. It's bitterly cold at this height, much of which is down to the wind chill, and I'm so glad that I've come out in my extreme weather hiking gear. With my eyes smarting, I sight the famous cairn a short distance ahead, a 10-foot pillar of stone that also serves as a trigger point to help climbers and hikers orientate themselves. It also marks the very top of Ben Nevis. My heart begins to gallop. I check over my shoulder once again. The hiker is now close enough for me to determine it's a young man, and despite his brisk pace, there is no way that I can let him take over. After everything we've been through, my emotions are never far from the surface. Ange, I say. When my wife answers my call, it's me, Kerry. We've done it. Done what? She says, after a pause, and then seems to remind herself. Oh, the climb. We're at the top. We're at the top of Ben Nevis, Max and me. We made it all the way. Well, that's nice, she says cheerily. And I know what this means. Angela works as a hairdresser from home. Her friendly but formal tone tells me she has a customer with her just now. Alone, she wouldn't hold back like this. I smile to myself. Tell her I love her, and we'll call her again when we reach the campsite. Yes, that would be great, she says, to sign off. Thanks very much. I'll see you soon. I stow my phone while grinning at Max. It feels like he knows just what's going on at home as well. Then I rise carefully to my feet and look around one final time. With magnificent views across the rugged wilderness below, I feel like king of the world and so proud to have Max alongside me. I hope he shares my sense of achievement, for in recent times we've both come such a long way. Let's roll, I say, because this isn't the end of our journey. With Max at my side, it's just the beginning. Take care, loads of love. Catch up with you again soon. Bye.